Hi everyone, I'm Ananyata back again from Team Espousal. I hope everyone is having a great time. What a brilliant discussion it was that took place in the previous panel on wedding blogging. And now, moving on, everyone has a distinct idea of what love is, and it cannot be defined in a certain way. Each one of us has a unique experience with it in various ways and with equally varied people. That does not imply, however, that any of those types of loves are not worthwhile celebrations. With that, we will be moving on to the next session of the day. Super excited to present our next panel discussion, which is on LGBTQ plus weddings and relationships. We have with us Ryan Hogarth, who is a marriage official for South Africa. We have Marilyn Michau from South Africa. She is a marriage celebrant. We also have Viveck Bharadwaj and Surbhi Mohta from Prrathaa Weddings from India. And finally, we have Divya Chouhan from Divya Vithika Wedding Planners from India. This session will be moderated by none other than NJ Rakesh. He is also a radio jockey of 12 years, a professional MC, interactive gamer, and a team building specialist. He is also a comic of 17 years. He carries the experience of hosting the biggest corporate events, celebrity shows, concerts, parties across the country and overseas.
Yep.
All right, then let's get started. Jump right into the action. I'm going to jump right into the action. Do send your responses and reactions or whatever questions that you may have. This is for the audience. If you have any responses, reactions, questions, send on the chat room. All right, here goes. Just 7 days ago, guys, just 7 days ago, a same sex couple got married in a traditional wedding ceremony in Kolkata, India. That's Abhishek Ray and Chet. They exchanged marital vows, tied the knot. A local priest also chanted mantras and conducted the rituals. Now, this move is winning hearts across the nation. Well, the law doesn't approve of it here yet, but this became Kolkata's first same-sex marriage. Are we seeing the door of Divya? Would you like to start off with that, please? Are we seeing doors opening?
Yes, absolutely, Rakesh. The doors are opening up, and it's more about acceptance. I think you need laws when there is no societal acceptance, but when society itself starts accepting something, then you don't need a law. People are happy. There's nobody against anything. So with this wedding that happened in Kolkata, or the recent wedding that we saw in Telangana and other places, so slowly and slowly, society is warming up to the idea, because a few years back, this was not the norm. Now people have come to the realization that there are different kind of people. People have choices, and we need to respect those choices. As a wedding planner, it's my joy to celebrate and plan weddings for my clients. I do not judge them basis their genders or budgets or their personal choices or preferences. I just want to make sure that they have a beautiful, wonderful day, and the way they wanted to, the way they had dreamt about it. When families and friends come together, it becomes even more joyful, because there is a lot more acceptance to their choice. And that's why it's very important as a planner that we understand the social conditions, the society, and make sure that it's conducive for them to have that wedding, just like the one which happened in Kolkata. I think it's beautiful. And India has always, ancient, even in, for from our history, we have been a nation of tolerance and acceptance. Maybe there was a brief period when everybody was wondering what's happening, but now the LGBTQ community, the weddings, they're going to become a norm, and nobody's going to raise an eyebrow or question it. We are very happy, and I'm sure my colleagues, from Prrathaa Weddings, they will also, they also subscribe to this, that, we are happy, and we are receiving a lot of inquiries
Yeah.
for these weddings. Over to you, Rakesh.
Awesome. Thank you. Point Chouhan from Divya Vithika Wedding Planners. On to that I have, it's very different in the West and other parts of the world. Stories, American lesbian couple to get married and hosted an Indian. Then there was Rohit and Walter tied the knot 5 years ago in Sevilla, Spain. The duo Don Sherwanis by Sabya Sachin. It was huge gala affair. Now, how are these weddings different weddings in terms of magnitude, spends, and all other elements that go into its making? I'm going to throw this question at Marilyn Michau, a marriage celebrant. Marilyn, how are these weddings different? How are these weddings in the West and the other parts of weddings in terms of magnitude, spend, and all other elements that go into its making?
Good morning. It's still morning in South Africa, and thank you very much for hosting this fabulous show. I don't think that these weddings are different to any other weddings. They're just weddings. It's all about two human beings who love each other that want to join together. So my experience is that it's just a normal wedding. I deal with it like a normal wedding. You find out about the couple's relationship, you find out about why they love each other, you speak about that, and you bless them on this their wedding day. And it depends on their budget. You know, sometimes it's a small wedding and you have 5 or 6 or 10 people. And I think with COVID, we've noticed more and more of those weddings where people are not having the big spend. Of course, some do, especially the Indian ones. I do a lot of those, and those are the most glamorous of all the weddings that I do. But no, I don't treat them in any way differently to a same-sex or heterosexual marriage. It's just a marriage. So for me, it's very important that at the wedding ceremony, I depict their personalities and their love story. So I don't have a canned service. I get to know the couple. We have a couple of meetings, and it becomes a very intimate revelation of their love story, which is beautiful. And that love story is different for everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that viewpoint. And I want to check with you. Do you find any difference in the magnitude? I'm even talking about the nature of the wedding, like Marilyn put it up, whether it's a same-sex couple or whether it's the opposite-sex couple. There is no difference. We're celebrating. But I'm talking in terms of magnitude, in terms of spend, in terms of the scale of the wedding. It's in that the way it's been organized, Ryan, back there in the West.
No, I don't. I don't think so. I think Marilyn's point is well made. You know, two people getting married, they either have a lot of money or they don't have a lot of money. They got a big family, small. So it does tend to vary. I don't think being a same sex or LGBTQ wedding makes it any different from that point of view. It tends to be. I think everyone, you know, has an idea of what they want for their wedding, and that's what they're trying to put together. I think early on, look, in South Africa, we've same-sex marriages have been the law for 16 years now. So I think initially there was a need to put on a big show because it was a new thing. We were making a statement. You know, people, you know, same-sex couples could now get married. But now it's the norm. You know, it's not as strange or different or unique as it used to be. It's two people getting married. So I think it's just fallen into the rhythms and patterns of weddings in general.
And Brian, I'm going to go to Viveck. I'm going to go to right there, Viveck Surbhi from Prrathaa Weddings, India. I want to know from you guys, have you any of these weddings, any of these organized or been part of any of these LGBTQ plus weddings, or if I may have to call the rainbow wedding, or been part of any of it?
Hi Rakesh. Yes, in fact, we are known for LGBTQ weddings, and we've done a wedding in 2016 in Bangalore, and we'll soon be doing one wedding in November. Hopefully, fingers crossed, if everything goes well. And I must say, this was one of the most beautiful experiences we've had as wedding planners. And yeah, I'm sure Surbhi would like also to weigh in on, you know.
I think way back before it even came on social media, and now since y'all are getting all the juices from Kolkata and Hyderabad and all of these areas, I think we did it, and we were not too much on social media back then. But 2016, we got Sandeep and Ruben married in Bangalore, and it was a very close knit affair, and we are planning one in December, and that's happening at Udaipur. So yeah, we have a lot of them in pipeline, and I'm glad world is opening up to the fact that love is after all just love, and there isn't anything beyond that. If two bodies are happy irrespective of the sex, the caste, the creed, anything, and if they want to live
Fantastic.
their lives together, I don't think there should be anything stopping anybody to do so. So yeah. And as wedding planners, like Divya rightly pointed out, it's a joy to actually bring two people in love together, regardless of anything else. Yes.
Nice.
Fantastic. Anyone else? I would want to go to Marilyn. Marilyn, have you attended any of these LGBT plus rainbow weddings? And how's the experience? Can you share with us, please?
You know, they're fabulous. I mean, they're absolutely fabulous. There's no difference. Some girls tend to get a little over the top. I married a couple of years ago, and both girls, and the one was a professional singer, and she had her whole band there, and she sang to her beloved, which was incredible. And I mean, the outfits were wow. I mean, you don't understand how magnificent they were. And it's joyful, it's exciting. And in the beginning, they were particularly religious Jewish couple, actually, which was quite odd to start with. And they wanted all the Jewish traditions, which of course was very frowned upon by their families. And so it was a bit of a juggling act to try and come to a compromise. I had to meet both sets of parents several times and we had to go through the script. But the extravaganza, we have a very big venue in South Africa called Summer Place, which is particularly large. And they had about 3,000 people at their wedding, which I know for Indian weddings is not that
It's
big.
very normal.
And they were the most colourful two girls. They really were. And the singing and everything was just, you didn't want to leave. You just wanted to stay in this moment of incredible joy and happiness. And I find that I become quite friendly with all my couples going into the future. And they often call me for a bit of counselling or advice. And these two are busy adopting children at the moment, and there's been a lot of interaction with them. Yeah, and then I also did one, which was an LGBT wedding, but it was also across two completely different cultures. The one was a Hindi girl from India, and she was marrying a black girl from South Africa.
Wow.
And it was quite a exciting one too, I have to say.
Wow.
But
Wow.
they were quite grand. They're not all grand, but these were pretty grand. They were pretty grand. And the families were all very invested into it once we went through the preparation. I think it's religion separates people more than this actually separates people. Once we decide on the religion that we're going to use and who we're going to honor at the wedding, once we get through that, it's pretty okay. That seems to be the stumbling point for me. Not that it's two same-sex people or LGBT. That they've already accepted. But who are we going to actually ask to bless our wedding on the wedding day? That becomes quite an important issue.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Divya, you seem to be still celebrating the Pride month out there. I can see the flag
right.
with the kind of posted as your background.
Yeah, I just love what
Yes, I can
I-
see the
I-
Pride month.
Yes, I have a friend, and we were all participating in the Pride March, and so this is a flag from there which I keep with myself. And every time there is an opportunity, it goes up. So
How
yes,
beautiful.
yes.
Ryan, I think we're very lucky to do what we do. I really do.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
Background, I'm
Supporting, you know.
wearing the flag, if you may have to say.
Sorry.
Rakesh, I couldn't hear you.
So go ahead, Marilyn, go ahead.
I think sitting at the
I said,
feet of love.
go ahead. Go ahead, Marilyn.
Thank you, thank you. I think when we sit at the feet of love, we just feel blessed and excited and enthusiastic because, you know, the Jewish people say at a wedding, everybody gets married. And that's the truth because that bubble of love that exudes around everybody, you are enveloped in it. You are part of that. And you can't help but walking out a little bit on air, you know. I don't normally stay at any wedding receptions, otherwise I'd never have a social life. So I sort of have 5 minutes, say hello, hello, and then I leave. And you drive home because we often drive long distances, and you are elated, you know, you feel so overjoyed at being part of that. And so that's for me is like every one of us has such an important job. You guys, the wedding organizers, you've got to buy the vibe. You've got to get what it is that they want. You've got to recreate their fantasy and their joy for them. And so do we, Ryan and I. We've got to also recreate that vibe and that fantasy and their love. We've really got to get to understand why they love each other so much and bring that into the wedding together with their beliefs. And that for me is almost more exciting than rendering the service because once we're in the service, I send everybody their script so that they know exactly what I'm going to say because you don't want to do anything that's going to jar anybody in the congregation or upset anybody. So they've got that ahead of time and then they can relax and they know what I'm going to say and what is expected of them. I love it.
Right.
I love what I do.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think what
Thank
happens.
you.
Right,
Well, Divya, like I was mentioning, got the flag on. I've lifted. Go ahead.
I've got the what?
Rohan, I didn't hear. What did you come?
I said, Divya's got the flag in the background. I'm literally wearing the flag right as my inner vest.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you are.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Pride
Yes.
month that we're still continuing the celebrations with. So, Divya,
Yeah.
well,
So,
there goes.
you know, oh, you can remove the jacket and you can just be in that, you know, then we are all colorful here.
Okay, I want to check with you, Divya. I want to then after that go to Viveck. How does the rest of the LGBTQ plus couples who probably are tuned in, or the people who are to them who are tuned in right now, or probably later on when they'll be watching this video of our discussion, how does one LGBTQ plus couple plan a perfect dream day? What are the do's, don'ts, what they keep in mind, what they shouldn't, please?
So, Ashwin, Rakesh, there is nothing really different from the rest of the weddings that we do. Most of our couples, they write to us on our website, on our questionnaire. They explain to us, we have a set of questions that this is what we're looking for, this is the wedding, and then we get into a conversation. Like any other wedding, we understand the sensitivities of the couple, of their families, because a wedding is not just about the couple, it's about the families coming together and the friends coming together. And being in India, you are exposed to a range of cultures. You know, every 100 kilometers, the culture changes in this country with language, with peoples, with ideas. So, you know, we are all tuned in and we are all accustomed to the fact that no two weddings will be the same ever, even if they come from the same region, from the same area, from the same culture. So we are so conditioned by it. So when when our LGBTQ couples write to us and they describe the wedding, describe what they're looking for, it's the same process that we follow with them, the same level of sensitivity with which the information is handled. We make sure that the place, because wedding is a social event, it is an event which involves there'll be a lot of people in there. So for us, it's not just important that it's the families and the venues or the vendors we are working with who understand that what wedding we are conducting, but it is also important that people around the area, the vicinity, are also comfortable with it, just because it's a unique phenomena which is getting normal. I'll give you an example. About 8 to 9 years back, we received a inquiry for same gender wedding, and they wanted to do it one of the exotic locations in India, and we were scouting for venues. When I spoke to one of the resort owners, he was very candid, and he spoke to me and he said, "Ma'am, this is still not something which is acceptable in this part of the world that I live in, right? So my hotel, my venues, everybody is okay. We will all give you the permissions, but the people working here, the vendors you will work with, if it doesn't agree with their sensibilities, you don't want that to happen." So it was such a wise insight at that moment in time, and we advised the couple to conduct the wedding in the city, because there's more acceptability, the more educated people, and they have more information regarding this topic. So this is the level to which we are all sensitized on how we have to make sure that each and every person who's participating in the wedding, whether it's the vendor, whether it's the guest, whether it's the hotel, the people serving, the staff, everybody has to be tuned in to the joy for that couple. And that is very important for us as a planner, because emotions run the emotional content of a wedding is much higher than any other social function. So these things are very important, and at the end of it, it's a people's business. It's a business where people are coming together. So the vibes of the people, the comfort and the warmth of everybody who's participating in the wedding is very important as planners, and I'm sure Surbhi will also agree to that. Many times you've had those conversations, that so important that there are no disagreements amongst people. Sometimes when you do weddings, there are families who have come together because they don't have a choice and the couple wants to be together, and you can see the vibes are so different compared to a situation where everybody is in sync and
Yeah.
happy
Yeah.
together, right? So that is what we all aim at. So many times we have to juggle in between those emotional roller coasters between the families and the couple, and nobody gets to know about it, but we know how we are handling it at the back end, because at the end of the day, what they will be left with of from that day will be how they felt at that point in time when the wedding was being conducted, how happy their families was, and that becomes ultimately a responsibility for us to make sure that that is a successful wedding for us. So really there's nothing more different, but anybody, I mean, a lot of couples write to us, families reach out to us, they understand that we will handle it with utmost sensitivity, and we have done that for all our weddings.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Well
Divya.
said, Divya. I
Surbhi,
think
Vivek,
you've
do you have?
encapsulated everything.
Go for it. Go for it.
Yeah, I think Divya pretty much encapsulated everything that we've experienced as wedding planners, having planned LGBTQ weddings. And I would just like to add that it's such a beautiful experience, because people who matter, who care, are the ones who actually are willing and accepting to be a part of these weddings. And you get to experience such pure raw emotions amongst the crowd. We've seen people showing the purest emotions when they're enjoying the wedding. There is laughter, there's a lot of tears of
And
joy.
I really don't think we should differentiate a
Yeah.
normal wedding. There isn't a thing called as a same-sex wedding or an LGBTQ wedding. It's just people in love getting married, and obviously the sensitivity towards it, like people mentioned that there are venues which are still opening up to the fact. When we did the Udaipur Reiki, and I still remember we had to tell the hotel, although it was a heritage property, but they were very forthcoming in the for the fact that fine, it is going to be a wedding which is going to be unlike the regular boy girl wedding, but then again it's going to be a wedding, and we made sure that we tell people there that we do not want any media, we do not want any of these extra staff which are not there with their phones taking and capturing whatever is happening. And this is something that we even followed in the first wedding that we did. Everybody who came inside, we made sure that nobody were really using their phones and all of that, because back then in 2016 the so-called uh, you know
The law
the
wasn't
law wasn't
particularly in
as,
favor.
yeah,
Yeah, they were
yeah.
not very forthcoming, to be very honest. We created alibis just in case somebody raised suspicions and called in the police. we had
So
we
we
had
had all of that.
we had fake identities of a couple waiting to sit in the mandap if something happened.
But things have changed now from
Yeah.
2016, and people are more and more forthcoming about it. They are more open to accepting things. We as wedding planners love the fact that people are, coming to us to plan their weddings in whichever, however big, small, it is irrespective of anything. And like Marilyn correctly mentioned, that a wedding is about everybody getting married, and it is just not about that. It has to be a joyful moment for everybody, and that is what, as wedding planners, we all aim at, regardless of who is what and where they belong. So yeah.
And also, Rakesh, we need to tap into the pink economy
Yes.
now.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Let's
yeah.
get into that space
Yes.
also. And I think that's a big part of the
I
economy now
truly, I
in this
truly get
economy.
that. Talking about the restrictions and how you secretively managed to have another couple ready to sit in the mandap. I also want to call these not marriage ceremonies but commitment ceremonies. Just for the sake of the law, they want to call these commitment ceremonies and not marriage ceremonies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm quickly now going to go on to with all these laws and restrictions. I want to know from you what do you think are the challenges faced while planning LGBTQ plus wedding or a rainbow wedding? What are challenges that usually people face at such weddings?
Well, I think those have been captured quite nicely by Divya and Vivek on. In India, it seems like there's been a bit more of a challenge because laws have had to catch up and there's ideas that have had to change. Whereas in South Africa, we've been open to it for the last 16 years. But what I do experience is people who come to South Africa to get married here because they're not allowed to in whatever their home country is, and in some cases it's actually illegal and punishable by death, which is just bizarre. So they come to South Africa to get married. So that's more of a challenge for them and where they come from, because they'll come out here, they'll have a small wedding, a celebration, but then they have to go home and pretend that they're not married, which is kind of bizarre. But things will change. We started off the session where Divya was talking about, accept. We are afraid of things we're afraid of change, and we're afraid of things that are different to what we know and understand. And anything that challenges that, we struggle with it. When it became law in South Africa that allowed same-sex marriages, at the time I was opposed to it, and there was like 2 or 3 years, and I had to eventually sit down and go, what am I actually objecting to here? And then I did my first same-sex wedding, and it was an amazing thing. And Marilyn's mentioned it beautifully, where this was just two people who want to commit themselves to each other. And in fact, my favorite thing at every same-sex wedding really is the people who are attending their first same-sex wedding, and they don't know what to expect, and they think it's going to be, like it's some sort of weird ritual, and they can't wait to see what it's going to look like. And at the end of it, they go, oh, so it's a wedding. So, but every time it happens, we change minds. And my favorite thing is when there are kids, young children at these weddings, because for them it's normal. It's not unusual, it's not strange, and they will grow up with that in their mind.
Yes.
Of people who want to commit to each other being able to do it, and it's not out of the ordinary, and they will bring a new generation of acceptance. And from the brief stories we've heard here in India, it every time it happens, we break down the fear of change, the fear of something different, the fear of moving forward and just being okay with things. So it's slow and painful in many parts of the world, but I do think we're making progress, and eventually everyone will come around. So some will be far behind, but I think there's a growing momentum with it. Even though we're having this discussion, I mean, it'll be great to be at a time where we don't have to have the discussion.
Yes.
And I think all of us have been at pains to say that they aren't different. This is just a wedding. It's two people committing to each other. And it should be part of the normal discussion around any wedding.
Exactly what I said. Yes, I second that.
I agree
Yeah.
with you. It's very nice when you said that, oh, it's just a wedding. Yes, that's all it is.
Actually, it is, right? It is just a wedding. Why do people just bring in so much with it?
It's only because, the society takes time to change a little bit. And when societies change, I think you need
Absolutely.
more laws.
Absolutely. Hope this grows, this entire space grows from strength to strength. I have one last, Marilyn. Marilyn, what do you think the guests or the who are attending these LGBT plus weddings or being part of, like you mentioned, yes, it's just another wedding, right? The couples are sensitized towards it, the guests, the family towards it. But I want to know about those guests who are and the vendors who have been asked to be part of these rainbow weddings. What should they know while they're doing this, while they're part of it?
So I like that question because I think all of us, well, I'm sure I can speak for Ryan as well, we get to know the audience. I ask the couple beforehand, who is coming? Oh, okay, so Granny's a Jehovah's Witness and Uncle Peter is a Jewish rabbi, and you get to know who your audience is. So you know what you're up against. And I think it's important that we speak to the relationship and try and get buy-in from everyone. And I've got a few little tricks that I use at the service to get people to buy into why they're there. If they've shown up to the wedding, I applaud them for that and say, by being here today, you show your commitment to the couple in the past, today, but most importantly, the support that you're going to be going forward. So thank you for being here. And then they feel more valuable. And then I've got a few other things like that I do, like I'll say later in the service, they're going to be exchanging rings as symbols of their love. Because they can count on your love, they would really like you to put your love and good wishes into their rings, and we pass the box around. And so they're now making little commitments all the way through by hearing what I'm saying to actually affirm that they actually approve of the wedding. So very seldom, I have had the one or two grannies come to me afterwards and say, do you think it's okay that they've got married? Do you think that they're going to hell? Do you think this is all right? And then I sit with them and we talk it through, you know. And depending on the religion that they are, we can draw on ways of actually making them feel more comfortable about their grandchild or their child or their sister or brother or whatever it is that has just got married. There is often resistance from vendors, I agree with you, and they are like, really, look what's going on here. But that's their stuff, and all we can do is show the love, be present, be celebratory and complimentary to two people who are declaring their love for each other. The vendors shouldn't take on a function if they're going to be in any way dissing the people that are getting married. That's very disrespectful. So I haven't found too many problems there, but there is often someone in the congregation that's a little disturbed. And then they run after me and they want to speak to me afterwards. And I welcome that. I welcome that.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I can understand.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Marilyn. Quickly now, we just got about 5 minutes of the session to go. I'm going to give each of you 30 to 40 seconds to give me your closing notes. I'm going to start with Divya Chouhan. Divya, your closing notes for the session, please.
So, Rakesh, I would say that for everybody who's watching this show, there is no difference. The world is opening up. Love knows no gender. You are welcome. You are accepted. And it's your right to celebrate your love with your loved ones joyfully. We are here to help you create and plan that. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about acceptance. Don't worry about what other people will say, what people will talk about. There's enough and more on social media for you to put up. And once you come together in love, everything is fine.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Divya, for that. Coming to Viveck and Surbhi, apart from giving out your message or your closing notes for the LGBTQ plus community, I also want you to give out a message to all the event managers out there who probably a little hesitant to take up these projects when it comes to the LGBTQ plus weddings that come their way. So a message for them, please. Your closing
So
notes.
the message to everybody who's looking to get married regarding of the sex, the gender, everything, let's just get you married. All the wedding planners out here are here to help you, like Divya just mentioned. And for event managers, this before, Trust me, it is a little different maybe in the Indian scheme of things, but you will get there. There isn't any different. I'll actually say a little bit more on that. When we were planning our first same-sex marriage way back in 2016, so we have an Indian custom where we do kanyadan, which is giving away of the girl child, the bride basically. So the father performs that for the girl child. The pujari, who is the priest, he asked me, who do I do the kanyadan for? So there are a little bit of tweaking. There is going to be a lot of challenges. There are going to be sensitizing of the photographers, the caterers, everybody who's there, so that it does not become a mockery for them. Because regardless of how we feel about it and how we are as a forum, there are people who are still closed minded about it, and they need a little bit of tweaking here and there. Having said that, the world is open. Us wedding planners, us as a fraternity, we are more than happy to do any wedding. And like he said, tomorrow there wouldn't be any discussion of an LGBTQ wedding separately. We will all be celebrating weddings regardless of. I think we should just celebrate love together.
Yeah, I think with more acceptance, you'll see the law of the land change and become more forthcoming to same-sex marriages, and you will see a lot more of it in the near future.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's all about normalizing LGBTQ plus community,
Yeah.
as well as the weddings involved with that. Go to Ryan. Ryan, your closing notes, please.
Very briefly from my side, outside of everything we've spoken about, the love and the celebration is, let's not ignore the business opportunity. People who, as there are lots of people who've wanted to get married, have been concerned about it or not been able to, who are in same-sex relationships. And as it becomes more broadly open, they will be having large weddings. This is a fantastic business opportunity for everyone involved in the wedding industry. And we should be encouraging it more than anything else, just for that, to help grow the industry. It's in our own best interests to help make this happen, and happen a lot more.
Well said.
Absolutely. Wonderfully said, Ryan. Marilyn, your final words, please.
Well, I'd just say let's do it.
Yes.
I think that's so important, that you feel supported by your wedding planner and by the person that's going to be conducting your service, your celebrant, and you've got your beloved with you. So let's do it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You're right. Marilyn has such a wonderful way of explaining.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Sign off before we sign. Lovely. Before we sign off, we have one more speaker who unfortunately certainly has given out his message to a video. I would like to present that video right now onto our screen, so please don't go anywhere. It's Percy Sales from Percy Sales and California, USA. He's got these words for us.
Hi, thanks for having me. I think part of this is that, one of the questions that's asked
Percy Sales
is
from
that,
Percy Sales
have
Events,
I
California,
ever been
USA.
part of, attended, or organized an LGBTQ plus wedding? And I've done all three. I have planned and was part of my own wedding, back in 2008, when it first became legal in California to get married, legally get married. I did plan mine and my husband's wedding. But in 2005, before it was legal, we did have a commitment ceremony, which I also planned. And it was something that we thought was important for us to do for ourselves as a couple. As a gay man in the LGBTQ plus community, I grew up never thinking that I would be able to have a wedding, because that was just something that was not in the cards. Gay people did not get married, queer people did not get married, lesbian couples did not get married, because there was no legal actions for this. And for most parts, for couples, LGBTQ plus couples around the world, some of this is still not legal and it's still not recognized. So, yeah, I think it's important to know that the historical context is that this is a very special day for many LGBTQ plus clients, is because we never thought we could get married. Another question is that, how do you plan a perfect day for an LGBTQ plus couple? I think the most important part to recognize about this is to treat your clients as if they're any one of your other clients, but knowing that this is a historical marker for them as well. Because like I talked about earlier, is that, we never thought we could get married. So planning the perfect wedding for them is not only having that historical value, knowing that historical value of, this is something historical for them and for people in their community, but also to treat them as if they're any one of your clients. They're no different. They still want the perfect day. They still want the legal ceremony. They want to have the fabulous reception with their family and friends, or the people, their circle of loved ones. So I think that you need to recognize that, this clientele from this community should be treated like you would with any other client, with respect, with dignity, with love, and knowing that you are being part of their day for a reason, and they chose you for a reason. So planning a perfect day is just, it's love and respect. And if you treat any of your clients with love and respect, that's really, really an important part of making the perfect day for them. Another question is, how do laws limit marriage, and how do laws that limit only to heterosexual marriages affect the LGBTQ plus community? This is really an important subject, because many countries in the world still does not legally recognize LGBTQ plus partnerships or couples, and their weddings are not legal. So what we're finding is that many of these couples who want to get legally married, even though it's not recognized in their countries, are getting married at destination weddings or abroad, where LGBTQ plus weddings are legal. I think it goes back to, for them, they want to recognize their love, and they want to be acknowledged for them, as a couple. And I think part of this is, trying to figure out what the best route for them is. Even though they get married legally somewhere else, I know that some countries still do not recognize it. Some of these clients are still living in the closet because of either religious or political issues, but they're doing this for themselves. So if they're getting married abroad, or at a country that recognizes these kinds of weddings, this is where they're going to, is planning destination weddings. So I think that there's always a loophole or a way to celebrate their love, but it's finding the right fit for them, and where they're going to be comfortable in saying their I do's. What should guests and vendors know about attending or working on LGBTQ plus weddings? I think the biggest thing, again, is going back to having that respect for the client, and for, or if you're a guest, is having respect for that couple. As vendors, you have been chosen because of not only safety reasons, but emotional safety reasons. And a lot of these clients really want to hire vendors who are not going to be discriminatory. We've heard stories about, cake bakers or florists, or, bakers or florists, or, other vendors who say they don't want to do LGBT weddings. As a planner, I would never put my client in a situation where they are interviewing vendors who may not be open to their relationship. So as a planner, it's very important for me to know which vendors around the world I could go to who are going to respect the couple and respect the sanctity of the marriage that they're actually going into. So not putting a client into an LGBTQ plus client into a situation where they're going to feel discriminated should be done first. And as a planner or as a designer or coordinator, you need to figure out who those vendors are and who's going to service these clients with love and respect. So doing your homework ahead of time is really, really important. As a guest, you're attending the matrimony of two people who you should love and respect. You should be going into this open-mindedly and going into it, as if you're going to any regular couple's weddings, because in reality, this is a regular couple. This is a couple who's in love. You should celebrate their love. You should not be going in there with no discrimination. You should be going there with an open heart. If you don't accept gay weddings and, you have been invited and it's something that you don't believe, then don't go. I mean, I think it's for you to go and, make, be a curmudgeon about what's happening is only ruining the experience that this client is paying for. So if this is something that you don't support, obviously you don't support the couple too, you shouldn't be attending. But as a guest, you should be going in there with an open heart and celebratory and celebrating this couple. And I think that's the important piece of this. I think the biggest part of being a part of an LGBTQ plus wedding is that openness. The openness and the knowledge that love comes in many forms. And, not only heterosexual couples fall in love, gay couples, obviously, LGBTQ plus couples obviously falls in love as well. And love is universal, and I think it should be celebrated and something that we shouldn't discriminate it upon, because, who is it that, who are we to judge someone on the basis of love? And so that's just my theory. It's just, I feel like, working as a part of it, being a part of a celebration like this should be, you should go into it openly with a lot of respect. And knowing that historically these clients in their heads have never thought that this day would be a possibility for them. So it's really, really extra special because they're not raised, or we're not raised to believe that we as people from the LGBTQ plus ceremony, LGBTQ plus community is, matrimony was never an option for us, or at least for many people around my age, in their 40s and 50s. We grew up not thinking that this was even a possibility. So, we should celebrate that this is a milestone in their life, and we should just really celebrate it. Thank you.
And well, that brings us to the end of this session. Like they say, everyone has a different definition of love, right? Some say it's warm, ruffled sheets, while some say it's in the lover's smile, and others say the support of their beloved, whether it's a man or a woman. The bottom line, there is no set definition of love, but it needs to be celebrated, and we hope a world with no closets, and bring in those rainbow weddings with the same pomp, show, and pride in India, like the way we do the rest of the weddings. If not, it'll be happening in the rest of the other part of the world. On behalf of the organizers of Espousal, I'd like to thank all our panelists for taking our time and making it here, making it to this session. Hogarth, a marriage officer from South Africa; Marilyn, Michau, marriage celebrant from South Africa; Divya Chouhan from Divya, Vithika, wedding planners, India; Viveck, Bharadwaj, and Surbhi, Mohta, Mohta from Prrathaa Weddings India, and Percy Sales, who joined us on the video from Percy Sales Events California, USA. And of course, tuned in. This is me, MJ Rakesh from Mike Jock India, signing off from Espousal International 2022, world's first 3D virtual expo connecting wedding planners, event managers, vendors, couples, families of brides, grooms, basically the entire wedding fraternity. Well, if wedding is on your mind or wedding is your business, then this is the place to be. So do leave your feedback, log out. Thank you for that. Over, Ananya.
Thank you so much to all the panelists and especially to MJ Rakesh for creating such a lively discussion. Now we have a video of the same-sex wedding that was done by Viveck and Surbhi from Prrathaa Weddings. Let's take a quick look at it. And here we go. Yeah.
अब तेरी सोच में रहता हूँ मैं, अब तेरे प्यार से महका हूँ मैं।
अब बेवजह हंसती हूँ मैं, अब बिन पिए मस्ती हूँ मैं, अब मौज सी बहती हूँ मैं, अब मौज में रहती हूँ मैं।
अब तेरी सोच में रहता हूँ मैं, अब तेरे प्यार से महका हूँ मैं। तेरा मेरा प्यार हुआ है लग जाए ना नजर, अमांग दुआएं ऐसे। तेरा मेरा प्यार हुआ है जग को ना हो खबर, अमांग दुआएं ऐसे। तू ख्वाब है, तू ख्वाब है, तू ख्वाब है, तू। कभी चाहूँ मैं क्यों तभी खुशी कोई ला दो अभी। जानू नहीं बहका हूँ क्यों, क्यों चांदनी सी लगे धूप भी, प्यारे मौसम सभी नए हुए जज्बात भी।
अब धूप सी चढ़ती हूँ मैं, अब शाम सी ढलती हूँ मैं, अब आग बिन जलती हूँ मैं, अब नींद में चलती हूँ मैं।
अब तेरी सोच में रहता हूँ मैं, अब तेरे प्यार से महका हूँ मैं। खिले मिटे खुदा से भी गिले सारा जहां हो खुशनुमा प्यारा लगे राहों में जो मिले ना रहे फासले खुशी कोई अंगड़ाई ले
अब प्यार की अंगड़ाई में अब बेवजह शर्माई मैं अब ढूंढती तन्हाई में अब तो रहूं पगलाई मैं
अब तेरी सोच में रहता हूँ मैं अब तेरे प्यार से महका हूँ मैं तेरा मेरा प्यार हुआ है लग जाए ना नजर अमा